Hi. In this video, delve into the untold story behind the lens with the legendary John Rawlings, a visionary photographer who dedicated an impressive 30 years of his life to Vogue. Discover the man behind the camera, whose artistic eye and unparalleled talent helped shape the fashion industry as we know it today. John Rawlings was a mid-20th century American modernist photographer who worked for Condé Nast for 30 years. He grew up in Ohio before moving to New York in the early 1930s, and was hired by Condé Nast in 1936 as an assistant to Horst P. Horst and George Platt lines during their time at Vogue. Rawlings was promptly sent to England in 1938 to set up an in-house photography studio at British Vogue. He shot more than 200 Vogue and Glamour magazine covers, as well as working on commercial print and television ads, portraits, and nudes. The introduction of American photographer John Rawlings to Vogue's visual team in 1936 was certainly one of Condé Nast's best strategic moves. At a time when opulence, pretentiousness, and theatrical lighting were prevalent in fashion photography, fueled by the European school led by the British Beaton, the German Horst, and the Russian Heuning and Hühner, Nast and Vogue's editor-in-chief Edna Woolman Chase decided they needed a change of direction, and placed their bets on a talented but unknown 24-year Midwesterner. In two memos sent by Chase, one to her staff in 1937 and another to the photographers in 1938, she demanded more information and less art in Vogue pictures, several of the photographs for September 15th and nothing but black smudges, she wrote in the second. Concentrate completely on showing the dress, light it for this purpose, and if that can't be done with art, then art be damned. Show the dress. This is an order straight from the boss's mouth, and will you please have it typed and hung in the studio? The change of direction would take a few years, but the man to lead it, John Rawlings, would become one of the most prolific and important photographers of the 20th century, with more than 200 Vogue and Glamour covers to his credit. His beginnings were unremarkable. Born in Ohio in 1912, John Rawlings attended the local Wesleyan University, and upon graduation in the early 1930s he relocated to New York, where he became a freelance store window dresser. After buying a Leica to photograph his work and show it to potential clients, Rawlings discovered that he enjoyed taking pictures, and eventually started to photograph some of the aristocratic clients themselves, alone, or with their dogs. A few of those shots found their way to the desk of Nast, who decided to offer Rawlings a job at the Vogue studios as prop builder, studio hand, and apprentice to the legendary masters Beaton and Horst. The young man was so dedicated, and worked with such unbridled enthusiasm, that 4 months later he not only was promoted to first assistant to the masters but also got his first photo published in the September 15th issue of Vogue. Impressed by his precocious talent and visual style, Nast and Chase rewarded him in 1937 with a job at the British Vogue studio in London, where he would train and work until the early 1940s. During his time there, Rawlings experimented with his style and began to develop his signature uses of light, setting, and posing. His British Vogue work was so impressive it began circulating in French and American Vogue as well. Charles Dare Shapes Jr., former director of the Condé Nast archives, called Rawlings the first major Condé Nast photographer to demonstrate a truly American eye. Rawlings is credited as the first fashion photographer to associate fashion with Hollywood celebrities, and also said to have single-handedly elevated commercial photography to an art form. Thanks for watching. And subscribe to the channel for more captivating stories from the world of fashion and art. Your Valerie.